You know that feeling when you scroll through a sea of gaming desktops, see a sleek case with glowing fans and a promise of ultra-high FPS, only to wonder if you'll end up with a box that overheats on your first 30-minute session? I've been there, and the worst part is the hesitation that comes with spending a few $100s on a pre-built system that looks perfect on paper but might leave you cursing the warranty line. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. Today I'm breaking down the Evounic gaming PC desktop so you can decide whether it actually lives up to the hype or if you'd be better off building or buying something else. First off, let's talk about the environment this machine is built for. The Evounic comes with a Ryzen 7 5800X, an RTX 5050, 16GB of DDR4 RAM and a 1TB NVMe SSD, all tucked behind a tower that sports 9 ARGB fans and a 650W power supply. Those numbers read like a marketing checklist, but what matters is how they translate when you fire up a modern title, jump into a VR world, or just stream your gameplay to Twitch. In real-world testing, the RTX 5050 sits in the sweet spot for 1080p and decent 1440p performance. Games like Valorant or Fortnite push well over 140 FPS, while more demanding titles such as Cyberpunk 2077 hover around the 55-60 FPS mark with medium-high settings. It's not a beast that will max out every setting at 4K, but for a pre-built in this price range it delivers a smooth experience that most casual and semi-competitive gamers will find more than adequate. One of the first practical strengths I noticed is the storage setup. The 1TB NVMe SSD loads games in seconds. Assassin's Creed Valhalla went from launch screen to playable in under a minute, and level transitions in Red Dead Redemption 2 felt snappy, not sluggish. This is a big win over many budget pre-builts that still rely on a 256GB SSD or a slow HDD for the bulk of storage. The extra space also means you can keep a decent library of titles without constantly juggling installations, which is something I've seen cause frustration for buyers who think I have enough room and then run into oops, out of space after a few months. Cooling is another area where the Evounic tries to stand out. 9 ARGB fans sound impressive, and they do keep the chassis temperatures in the 40-50 C range under load. That said, the noise level is worth mentioning. When the fans spin up during a demanding raid boss or a long rendering session, the tower becomes noticeably louder, more like a modestly sized air conditioner than a whisper-quiet workstation. If you game in a shared living space, a bedroom, or during late-night sessions, you might find the fan chorus a bit distracting. It's not a defect, just a trade-off between visual flair and acoustic comfort. Now, who should actually consider buying this machine? If you're a gamer who wants to jump straight into modern titles without the hassle of assembling components, and you're comfortable playing at 1080p or 1440p on a 144Hz monitor, the Evounic hits a sweet spot. It's also a decent entry point for someone curious about VR thanks to the RTX 5050's support for the latest headsets. You can run experiences like Half-Life, Alyx without needing to upgrade the GPU later. The included RGB keyboard and mouse aren't the most high-end peripherals, but they're functional and give you a ready-to-play setup right out of the box, which is convenient for first-time PC gamers or for a family member who wants a plug-and-play solution. On the flip side, there are clear cases where you should skip this model. If you're targeting 4K gaming at ultra settings, the RTX 5050 will feel underpowered, and you'll likely need to drop settings or invest in a higher-tier GPU later, which could make the initial purchase feel like a stepping stone rather than a final solution. Likewise, if you're an enthusiast who enjoys tweaking BIOS settings, overclocking, or swapping out cooling solutions, the pre-built nature of the Evounic limits your flexibility. The PSU is a solid 650W, but the case design doesn't leave a lot of room for larger aftermarket coolers or custom water loops. For those who already own a monitor capable of 240Hz or want to future-proof for upcoming titles that demand more GPU horsepower, looking at a system with at least an RTX 3060 Ti or RTX 3070 would make more sense. A practical weakness that's easy to overlook until you actually set the PC up is cable management. The interior layout is decent, but the numerous ARGB fans and the pre-wired RGB lighting kit mean you end up with a tangle of connectors that can look messy. It doesn't affect performance, but if you're the type who likes a tidy build, you'll probably spend an hour or two rerouting cables before the system looks presentable. Another point to consider is the operating system. Windows 11 Pro is pre-installed, which is great for business users or those who need the extra management features. But gamers who don't need Pro's extra tools might prefer a home edition to avoid the additional licensing cost.